Greetings, knitting neighbours and crafty comrades. Welcome to another episode of Bobolog. My name is Bobby Olin and I am a knitter and fibre crafter in Victoria, Australia. I live with my partner on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and I would like to acknowledge them and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and future. Housekeeping. The usual things. You can also find me on Instagram and Ravelry and Ko-fi if you want to support me by buying me a coffee or checking out the little bits and pieces that I have for sale in my Ko-fi shop. The link to all of those things are down in the YouTube description below, along with the links for all of the patterns and yarns, etc., that I discuss in this episode. For the very first time ever, I am actually doing this without having written any show notes and not having done any prep, so we shall see how that goes. So let's get started by jumping straight into handy dandy after a bit of tea. Okay, so what shall I show you first? Let's show you something completely new just to get us started. So after the previous episode, not immediately after the previous episode, but about a week ago or just over a week ago, I cast on a new project because I need to be making some gifts to send overseas to the UK for Christmas. Not many things, just a couple of pairs of socks. And I thought that I should get started now rather than wait any longer, because I knew that it would take a long time for shipping to go overseas. And the day after I cast on this first pair of socks that I'm going to show you, Australia Post sent out their email notification to everyone, letting us all know what the cutoff dates are for sending overseas to various countries, and the cutoff date for standard delivery to the UK is the 2nd of November. So I'm very glad I've just picked socks and socks that I've knit before, so they should be a quick project. And I can't remember what the cutoff for the express post is, because I would rather not have to do that. So just over a week ago, I cast on a pair of socks and I finished them yesterday. So this is that first pair here. These are the Stepping Stones socks by Clara Parks, I believe. They're a free pattern on Ravelry, but they're from a book, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I have made these before. So what I have sort of decided is, my sister and her fiance in the UK, last Christmas I made them each a pair of socks, and I made them the Stepping Stones socks, and they liked them so much that and they were really appreciative. So I thought, well, maybe that could be my thing. Every Christmas I make them a pair of socks, and I'll make them the same socks using different yarn. So previously I had made this in Bendigo Woolen Mills Classic 8-ply. These are really nice quick projects because they are DK weight socks, so that's really great, and I personally prefer DK weight socks to fingering weight socks myself. Anyway, so they knit up fairly quickly, and like I said, I have made this pattern before. For the other ones that I had made, I can't remember exactly how much I had used, but I had definitely used more than half of one Bendigo Woolen Mills ball, and they have the giant 200-gram balls of yarn. And for this one, I did use Peyton's Wanderer, which I have used in socks, a different pair of socks previously. I really liked working with these. I liked them for socks. I previously used them in socks for my partner, and he wears them quite frequently and he washes them. We have sometimes even put them on a quick low spin cycle in the washing machine, and they come out perfectly fine. They've held up really well, so I wanted to use that again, and I really love how I really love, like, I love the yarn is what I'm trying to say, and can't seem to find words for it, even though it's such a simple thing to say. I really like this yarn. This especially, when I started knitting with it, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's knitting up so beautifully. I'm loving this sort of denim-y look that it's giving. I wish they were for me, or at least staying in my own house, but they're a gift and they're going to stay a gift. So, yeah, I think it's really lovely yarn. It's Corriedale, I believe, 100% Corriedale wool. And yeah, the other really fun thing is, now that I have learnt to spin and I know how to spin, I can sort of look at this yarn and see how it's constructed, and if I wanted to try to sort of replicate it, I could definitely try to do that. From memory, it's a 3-ply yarn, and each ply, it looks like it's a combination of the blue fibre and the white or creamish fibre, but 2 of the strands have a very low, like there's a lot more blue and a lot less white, so it's really pale. And then with the other one, with the 3rd ply, with the 3rd strand, there is more white in it, so it's giving this really nice sort of heathery / marled effect, which I think is it just knits up beautifully. I would love to have a sweater in this, but I've also kind of, I really like this as sock yarn as well, so I kind of want to get every single color and make socks. So in the pair that I had made my partner, I had used 2 colors. This one uses 1 color. My sister will get another color, and then they've got a few more other colors. Anyway, I got sidetracked from what I was originally intending to say, which is I only bought 1 ball of this color and 1 ball of the color that I'm going to use for my sister, and they are 100-gram balls. And since I used more than 100 grams when I first made these socks, I made a few changes to try to make sure that I wouldn't run out. First of all, this leg is only 10 centimeters tall, and the pattern wants you to make it 15 centimeters. So when I originally made these, I followed the pattern exactly, and I made it to 15 centimeters. So just trying to use up less yarn, I took that length off the whole leg. And the other thing that I did is I weighed as I went along. So what I did to get started is, with my 1 ball, I put it on my scales and I weighed it, and it was really generous. It was actually 115 grams in this particular ball. So I wound it onto my, you can't see it, but my yarn winder is just clamped to the desk down here. So I wound it onto my yarn winder into 1 cake, and then I took and then I sat that cake on my scales and I wound again until it was half. So I had 2 cakes, and after I did the leg, I weighed it again to see how much left, and I had, done my nerdy thing of doing calculations. So I think I did the calf and I weighed it, and I was like, okay, I've used this much, this many grams of yarn so far, and I've done this many rows plus the cast on, which means that 1 row is an average of like this many grams. So I need to have this many grams left when I get up to the foot. Just me being me. Anyway, I kind of enjoyed that, weighing it at each point and seeing how that went. And I haven't done it yet, but I will put those notes on my project page in Ravelry. If you're not able to use Ravelry and you're interested in any of my project information, just let me know and I'm happy to share that. I haven't heard anyone saying anything about not being able to access any of my project information, so I'm just gonna keep doing what I do. So yeah, so I I actually had plenty. I thought that I was going to have to do a contrast toe at the very, very least, but I probably could have actually even done the 15 centimeter leg and still gotten the whole sock out of this, because I have 11 grams left. So they're my like 2 little cakes left over. Woo-hoo-hoo. Oh goodness. They're my 2 leftover cakes there. And now that I didn't use it all up, I'm kind of regretting that I cut the ball actually in half, and they're not joined for whatever I use them for next. I do sort of have a method that I like to use sometimes of winding 2 cakes without cutting the yarn, but with this one, the heel flap, it's a stockinette stitch heel flap, but you use 2 strands of yarn to do it so that it's a double thickness. So because I knit magic loop 2 at a time, when I was up to the heel flaps, I needed to be able to access the yarn both from the inside and the outside of each cake. So that is why I cut them, and unless I wanted to do them one at a time, I would have had to cut them. So that's just how it goes. Yeah, I like this pattern. I think it looks really good. I think the pattern itself isn't as clear in this yarn because of how speckly it is, but it still makes a really nice sock. So that's that there. The last thing that I wanted to say about this is just a little bit about how much I do get into maths and how much I do get into like I like knitting maths. I quite often do a whole bunch of recalculations and things, and I've never been afraid, and I've never shied away from doing recalculations to make sure that I'm getting the best result possible, because I generally prefer to find the fabric that I like and aim for that. And if my gauge doesn't match that of the pattern, then I will do all of the recalculations to make sure that I'm still getting a good result. Anyway, I didn't have to do that for this, but what I did consider at the very, very start was knitting these toe up so that I could use every last bit of yarn. And if I didn't have enough by the time I'd gotten to the cuff, then I would have done a contrast cuff. But I am primarily a cuff down sock knitter. I have knit toe up socks, but I have followed patterns for them. And I had earlier this year, I did also do a sort of sock recipe thing from Roxanne Richardson, which is called the August Sock Cal, which just gives you all of the formulas for making all of the adjustments and making a sock to be really custom fitting for your foot. But because she is also a cuff down knitter, they are all for cuff down. All of those instructions are for cuff down socks. So I do not have the confidence to convert a sock pattern from being cuff down to toe up. And what I originally thought that I would try to do is I would copy. So the other sock that I made out of this yarn was a toe up sock pattern. So because it was also a DK sock pattern, I thought that I would just easily be able to grab the instructions for that gusset and heel and plonk them into the middle of this pattern and make this pattern toe up. And I sort of started going on that process, and I was just like, nah, too hard, not doing that, giving up, don't have time, don't have the energy for this. I'm just gonna do the pattern as written and see how it goes, and clearly it worked out perfectly well. But I just sort of wanted to share that to say that, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm always giving all of these numbers and all of these calculations and talking about all of these technical things that I do, but sometimes definitely it is like, nope, too hard, can't, won't, nope. So yeah, so that's the first one there, and I talked for a lot longer than I thought that I would on those, so let me put that aside. The next one that I want to share is I finished, I'm kind of going sort of backwards from in order of what I actually knit on, not exactly, but anyway. I finished knitting my Jigsaw Shawl by Katrina Walzer. So this is it here. It is so pretty. I love it. Like, look how beautiful it is. It's so pretty. I love the geometry of it, and I love, like, it's just beautiful lace work, and it's just like, it's soft, and it's like a really good, like, light weight. And because it's a DK weight yarn as well, it's still like it still gives enough sort of, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's just really nice. Just take my word for it. It's just really nice. It's like, it's a nice weight, and but it doesn't feel like insubstantial. So it's light, but it doesn't feel insubstantial. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so I made this in the small size because that was all of the yarn that I had left of this yarn. And it is naturally New Zealand merino silk. And I had less than 2 balls left of this because I had used the first ball to make a pair of fingerless gloves previously, and yeah, so I didn't have a full 2 balls, and I had pretty much just enough to make the small. Actually, I'm a couple of rows short on this finishing section, which is all stockinette stitch, but not an issue at all, obviously, because that's just like a nice sort of border along the top, so it's not a problem at all that it's a bit thinner than Kat had intended. I did leave this tail here because I wanted to show you all the yarn that I had left when I finished, so that's not cut at all. That's literally like all I had left when I finished that that last row that bind off that I actually worked, and part of me kind of wants to leave it as like a memento of like how successful I was in this game of yarn chicken, but actually it makes it look like sloppy and not nice, and the rest of it is so nice, but I kind of at least wanted to leave it there to show it to you. So I like how Kat styles it in one of her photos. She's kind of got it like just tied there. You can see I haven't done all of my, like, I've blocked this, but I haven't like woven in and snipped. And have I woven in? Maybe I just haven't snipped. Anyway, she has one of her photos where she wears it like a bandana style. I do like the old draping it over the shoulders, but I do think for this kind of look, it would have been nicer if I could have done it in the large size. So I would like to knit another one in the large size, but like I have said before, I don't often go back and knit repeat patterns, and actually this one, which is a pattern that I had done before, it was such a struggle to actually work on. Like I was really struggling with knitting motivation on these, and I think part of that was definitely that I had knit these before. It's a really great pattern. It looks really good. It's just, I'll talk about this later, maybe. Anyway, Jigsaw Shawl by Katrina Walzer of Oliphant Cat. I really love it. The one thing that I will say is she gives what your stitch count should be after you've done every single repeat. And I was right. I always had the right stitch count up until the very, very last repeat when I had an extra 3 stitches. But I couldn't see any mistakes. Looking at it now, I can't see any mistakes, so I don't know what happened there. But it was the very last repeat and you can't tell, so I just carried on with the finishing, and yeah, it looks great. So yes, I think that's all that I have to say about that one. So that's 2 finished objects so far, and then the last finished object, the third thing that I have to share with you, is I finished the Star Illusion blanket, which is my first shadow knitting or illusion knitting project. So what shadow knitting is when you're looking at the piece front on, you're not supposed to be able to really make out what the design is, but then when you move and look at it on an angle, like the design really comes out. So I'm gonna stand up and show this to you because it's quite big, and I don't know how I'm going to show you. See, yeah, there you go. You can see not very clear, and as I lean it back and you see it from an angle, there are those stars. 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 Whee! When I had last shown this to you guys, I had to take out the progress marker because I have blocked this already, although again I haven't trimmed my ends, but I was somewhere about like a hand span from the top when I stopped working on it. So again, this is a free pattern. It's a really great pattern. I did it in Sheepy's Whirl Fine Art, which is a gradient yarn, and the great thing about the Whirl Fine Art is that they make balls of yarn that match the end colors. So this blanket is actually written for DK weight yarn. It's written for worsted weight yarn, and I did it in DK weight yarn. It uses, from memory, it called for 4mm needles on the worsted weight yarn, and I can't remember why, but I still used 4mm needles even though I went down a yarn weight. I think that is because I was concerned about the size, so I used the proportionally bigger needles to try to make sure it was going to be big enough. I have heaps of yarn left, so in hindsight I should have gone down to 3mm needles, and I probably could have done even like an extra panel. So it's actually made up of 3 panels that are all the same, and in the pattern she says to knit them up separately and then seam them together, but I obviously knit them the 3 side by side all in one go. So I could have gone down a couple of needle sizes and maybe done an extra panel, and I think I still would have had enough yarn. So what I had done is I had bought the Whirl Fine Art, which is the big gradient cake, a really big gradient cake, and then I had bought 2 balls for each colorway that matched the ends. And oh gosh, I just love these colors. Look at these colors. Oh, especially like where it gets dark up here. I love the colors, and I love the vibrant yellows. This is like my least favorite color combination, and it goes on the longest because the yellow and brown gradient cake only had a matching color for the pale yellow end. The blue gradient cake had a matching color for the dark end and the light end. So for the yellow, I bought 2 of the pale yellow extra balls, and for the blue I bought one of the lighter and one of the darker. And because I really thought I would use everything up, I of course started with one of the light balls. So there is a lot more light blue than there is of any other color throughout this whole thing, because I used a whole light blue ball and then started the gradient cake. And you know what, like, I finished, here's my end here, this far from the top, that's where I finished the yellow gradient cake, and I could have stopped there and it would have been perfectly fine. Like, losing, what is that, like an inch and a half, like 4 centimeters or something like that, of length wouldn't have ruined this pattern. So if I had just knit using the 2 gradient cakes, it would have been perfectly fine. I could have done the whole blanket just using that. As it is, I have almost 2 full balls of the pale yellow, and I have 1 untouched ball of the solid dark blue color, and I didn't even finish the Whirl Fine Art dark blue cake. I have less than one of the smaller balls worth of it. I can't remember exactly how much I have left, but I didn't even use it. And I think that's the thing that I regret the most, is that this darker color, which is my favorite part, there's a lot less of it, and then there's a lot more of the lighter color. But overall, like, I'm still really happy with the result, and I still think it looks really good, and I think it's going to be appreciated and all of that kind of thing. So the other thing about this pattern that I want to mention is she recommends that you back it, like she kind of treats it like a quilt. Like, the pattern calls for having a backing material, and then you bind the edges together like you would with a quilt. I'm not going to do that, but I wanted to show you what the back looks like. And you can see the stars a bit more clearly. It's definitely not as nice, but it's still, like, actually nice, because you can still see the design. It's kind of just more muted. So I will mention again, since it's been a long time since I've talked about this, that this yarn is, again, I didn't look any of this stuff up because I didn't do any prep for this episode, but it's mostly wool, and then it also has microfiber and acrylic, and it is machine washable. So how I blocked this, and sneakily this one was in there at the same time, I put them in the washing machine just on I think it was just a rinse cycle. So so it was only like 10 to 15 minutes or something like that on a low spin, and you can see, like, they both came out really, really well. And I'm so happy with this. It blocked so beautifully. It blocked so well, seriously. Like, I love it. I really, really love it. And considering I have that much leftovers of these, I'm considering going down those needle sizes and seeing if I can make like a cushion cover or something out of the leftovers in this same pattern. But I didn't want to jump into it straight away, just in case. You never know what's going to come up. And I still wanted to have, I don't know what I was going to say. Actually, I just started talking and then I didn't have a way to finish that sentence. Before I move on to the last thing that I want to show you, the last project that I want to show you, I just wanted to say a quick note about how I blocked these. So I only have T-pins, and I've thought about getting blocking wires before, but I felt like I've been completely fine getting away without having them. But for this one in particular, because if I didn't want points, and I wanted it to be a straight edge like it's meant to be, I would have had to put a pin in every single one of those eyelets. which would have been a pain, a complete and utter pain. And then for this as well, again, I just wanted a nice smooth flat edge. So I took a tip that I heard from the Knit More Girls podcast. They interviewed someone in one of their very, very early episodes, and they had talked about blocking using string or twine or something like that. So I don't actually have it here, but I have, basically I've got a couple of giant, I thought I put them here so that I'd have access to them. Where have I put them? Oh, yeah, this is what happens when I think I can get away with not being so organized. Okay, basically what I did was I got some nylon cord that I have that I've had forever and ever and ever, and I cut long pieces, longer than, you know, the length that I was blocking. And before I put these in the washing machine, I threaded them along the edge. So for this blanket, I was kind of lazy and I only had the string running through the long edges. I didn't have anything on the short edges. But for this one, I did have string threaded through all 3 edges. So they were nice and long. And then I washed them in the washing machine, and then when I laid it out on the blocking mats, I was able to, I put a pin on the inside of an eyelet for this one and the string, and then I sort of wrapped the string around and then like pulled it out and pinned it down, and I did that for each corner. For each bit where the string ended, and then I sort of just moved the string so that it was giving me a straight edge, and I only put like maybe another 2 pins along the edge just to hold the string in place that was threaded through the edges, and it gave such beautiful clean edges on the blocking mats. Like, it worked like a charm. It was so good. So I'm just going to do that forever now. It was so easy and it worked so well. So that's just a note on the blocking, and I'm really happy with all of these. The thing that I'm not happy about is the next thing that I'm going to show you, which is this project here, which I have worked on and I have mentioned before. So a couple of years ago now, I think, I knit the Greenwich sweater, which is a free pattern by Martin Story. I knit that for my sister. It's cropped in the front and long at the back, and when she was here last year and she tried it on, she said that the front was actually a bit short for her liking. So I knit a section of the bottom, because it's bottom up and then it's seamed, so I couldn't just unravel, and then I tried grafting that on, following the fisherman's rib pattern, but you could see a really obvious ugly line where that was grafted together, so that did not work. So I just undid the seams holding the front piece in place. I took out that graft, and you can probably tell where it is, because where I joined new yarn to just keep working up, there is a line. And when I don't know if maybe I just hadn't noticed it before, but when I picked this up again, I was probably, I don't know, about here or something like that, because yeah, so I knit a bit and then this got put away for a while, and then yesterday, after I finished the socks, I picked this up and kept knitting on it again, and I just kept seeing this line where I had joined yarn, and I don't know what I've done. And I sort of just left it, but then up here you can see I joined more yarn because I finished a bit, and there's no line there. So seeing that I can do a clean join, because I just started and finished the yarn at the end of the row and then started a new yarn. And I can't remember how I joined it here. I think I did a Russian join, but I don't know. It just, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unravel everything until a couple of rows before where this line is, which is where this bit of yarn ends. And I'm just going to start again from there. So now that I have shown you that, I get to unravel this again. Fun times. So that's that. Yeah, I sort of wanted to say a couple of things in my craft for thought. So the first thing is a little bit of announcement. I have, or I will be starting a new job. So I will actually be in induction when this video goes out. And I'm really excited about starting this new job. But the thing is, it's a casual position, so I'm not going to have a set schedule. Or at least, I don't think I'll have a set schedule. Casuals usually are on some kind of roster and it's not consistent. So I'll be starting that very soon, and because I don't know what my schedule is going to be like, I don't know what the workload is going to be like, I don't know how busy I'm going to be and how it's going to impact on my free time. So I'm actually, announcement, I'm going to take a break from doing this vlog. And I am really proud and happy that I have very consistently managed to do a fortnightly podcast this year. But not only am I starting this job, which is affecting my time, but just lately I've just been feeling flat, and yeah, I don't know, I've been struggling a bit with the motivation. It's been a bit really up and down, and I feel like I just need to take a bit of a break from doing this. And I feel like for me personally, I'm not, I don't know how to say this. I think the whole like sitting here and talking at you thing, it's not working for me right now. I feel like I need to do something different. I don't know. I would love to be able to do videos like Patricia, on her, I would love to be able to do videos like the Kamai channel is what I'm trying to say. I love that style, and it does just feel like a lot more natural, but I don't know that it's something that I could keep up with, because I like structure and I like organization, and the way that I've been doing these so far is, I have these segments so that I have things that I can talk about, and I can group everything and I can organize everything, and I know what I'm going to say. But I don't know. I feel like I just need to take a bit of a break and think about how I want to do these videos going forward. And it may just be the same thing. I may just end up coming back and doing the exact same thing, but you never know. I feel like I just need to have a think about what I want to be doing. My knitting motivation is all over the place lately. I thought since the previous episode where I said I was really eager to get knitting again because I'd had a break after the flared pullover, and then I was really happy and excited doing the blanket. No motivation problems there, no mojo problems here, motivation problems here. And I have been trying to think about why. And I think part of it is that like I said, this is a pattern I've done before, so there wasn't really anything new to learn or try or do. That's also been my struggle with, so when I said I did the August sock cowl, I went through like 5 different sock variations for socks for my partner. And of course, you know, he just likes wearing all his socks, and he can't really give me the feedback I was kind of hoping for on, yes, this style of heel works, this style of toe works, blah, 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 blah. So I've been thinking this whole year that I'm going to do the same thing for socks for myself, so I can feel the difference in the fit and the wear and all of that kind of thing. But I just don't have the motivation to, because for me, that's kind of boring, like I've done it already. Anyway, so that's one thing. I really think that the other thing as well is the patterns that I'm really excited to be working on at the moment are pretty much patterns for me or for my partner, and it's not this. And I think part of the lack of motivation is that this isn't what I wanted to be knitting on. I wanted to be knitting on these other projects that I have in my queue, that I've had in my queue for a long time, some that I have yarn for already. I'm also excited about using up yarn from my stash, and this was yarn that I did buy specifically to make these socks recently. Because it's a gift and I want to get the right yarn for gifts and not just go fishing in my stash. And yeah, so I think that's another part of the reason why the motivation was quite low on making these, was, yeah, just because it wasn't what I wanted to be working on and what I was excited to be working on. So I do have another pair of these exact same socks to make. We'll see how that goes. Have to get it done by the 2nd of November, like I said, and then I'll get to start working on stuff for myself. But then the third part of why I think my motivation has been up and down is because I did all of those different types of crafts that you would have seen in my previous episode, and there is actually a weaving project that I forgot to show, but you'll see that later on somewhere else. And I think that I really did like having an assortment of different things to be working on, and sometimes now I'm a bit actually like overwhelmed about what I want to be working on. There's crochet project that I'm excited to start. I want to finish the spinning. You can't see it, but my electric eel wheel is underneath that folded up apron there. There's other weaving projects that I want to do. There's still the quilt that I'm still cutting out all of the pieces for. There's things that I want to sew. There's more clothes that I want to sew for myself. So yeah, it's just I feel like I don't really know what I want to be doing, so I end up just playing games. Oh, excellent use of my time. Anyway, so yeah, so I guess also part of the reason for me taking this break is I kind of just feel like I need to sort out my headspace, settle into this new job, and we'll see how it goes. I hope to come back in December, but definitely I will take all of November off. Yeah, I guess that's all that I have to say about that. Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah. So I guess I'll see you when I see you. I don't know how to finish this now. I'll see you when I see you. Take care. Stay safe. Love, laugh. Be curious. Be crafty. And I'll see you around. Fare thee well.